You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. When does limited choice amount to no choice? It would seem that only the rich get to live life on good terms. The poor settle for next to nothing and would even risk lives without actually realizing it. Let me talk about the ferry accident in Lagos in the last week. Up to 10 dead and rising, many injured. The cause? Overload. I felt for LASWA, Lagos State's water transport regulator. They are in the course of really improving water transport, eliminating hazards and pitfalls. But how much can they really achieve? Greed, bred by poverty, is the bane of our existence here. That desire to make more profit than is correctly realizable from a transaction. And what of the people who bought the overloaded boat? Why? They are desperate to get to their destination, and they do not have control over these issues. Many times their journey goes well, and they continue to feel it will. Until, on a larger scale, the immigrant boats and dinghies that sink in the Mediterranean Sea, you would have thought that with all the debts, no one would want to try, but they do. They feel it is the only hope, and they pray for success. They pray to God, but some never make it there alive. The transporters' greed, coupled with the desperate needs of the poor, is a lethal combination, one that has to be broken. Car accidents happen from buses that are not in roadworthy condition, but are put on the road. Profit before safety, no insurance. Airlines do the same, sending faulty aircraft into the air without a care, and then 150 die. We have to deal with this menace, transport menace. The major culprits are government abandonment of provision of infrastructure and absence of efficient regulators. Regulators are full with corrupt staff, poorly paid, and not enough numbers. This is where we need to work in this country. Dedicated maintenance culture, strong social welfare ethos. That compassion in the hearts of our government and in the hearts of private transport enterprise. This is what the Minister of Transport should pursue before embarking on even greater grandiose schemes that look good on paper but are simply the constituents of a time bomb. What do you say?
You go.
I think that so there's a thing in my sphere which we call a scarcity mindset. It's very close to a poverty mindset.
Yeah.
So you think that is the last train, that is the last boat.
Yes.
If I don't get on it, I'm not going to get to where I'm going.
Yes.
And it's a very dangerous mindset. And that people often think that, as you said in your script, if I don't get on this, then I'm not going to get to where I'm going. Even though the dangers are all very evident to you. You see that the boat is overloaded. It's overloaded. There's space for 8 people, but there's 16, 20 people on, and then you come and
no life jacket.
And no life jackets. Life jackets is not enough. And maybe the first day you get to the other side. I think we need to and the role of the media is really, because when I read of tragedies, and the tragedy you just spoke about, you don't hear the names of people who have died. Right. Very rarely, and I must commend Plus TV, because you guys, some of the stories you carry, you're beginning to find, I'm beginning to see these persons as human beings, as people that I can connect with. And I think when you humanize tragedies in the way that I think that the news have to do, then it begins to bring us closer, because you know, because this thing about, 10 people died, 50 people died, what are their names? Who were they? Yeah. Who were they? What were they doing? Was it a carpenter? Was it a transporter?
Right.
They leave kids behind. We need to humanize our stories, especially tragedies, because it then helps people to understand that I'm not going to risk my life. Because a lot of people beset with this. There's poverty in other countries.
Yes.
I tell you a short story. I attended a workshop many years ago in a small village in France. We were talking about civilization and poverty and the role of nature or nurture as what made countries great. And someone got up and he was talking, he used a satellite picture, this tiny village where we were. And one church, one street, but the roads were clean. There were shops, there was a cafe, there was a piazza. And the total economy of that little village was not up to $100 million. But it showed us a picture of an African village where one big man was worth 400 million.
Yes.
Yeah? And his relations, but the roads leading to that was horrible. And so it's not the money.
It's the mindset.
It's a mindset.
I want to come in a bit. I hope I haven't stopped your
No.
Because I know that we had this discussion some time ago, and it seemed as though I wasn't appreciating the reality when I said, look, I don't really want to link poverty to almost making an excuse for people to be reckless.
Yeah.
And you know, I said some of the examples I gave, they said, oh, if these people went poor, they wouldn't have taken those risks. But I was trying to say that risk-taking is not a purview of the poor. You know, you take risks all the time. If you don't wear a seatbelt and you enter a car, you're taking a risk. If you're texting when you're driving, you're taking a risk. If you're putting diesel in your house, you're taking a risk. And, you know, it's about how much you value your life and how you put things in perspective. Everybody has to make a choice a lot of the time as to what risks they're going to take and why. And if you remind yourself that you only live once or you have only one life, then you may resist. You know, I know a man whose testimony was that he tried to emigrate. He felt desperate. He felt that there was nothing going on for him. So he tried once. I think his visa thing failed and they brought him back. Then he tried to do the route of the going across the Atlantic. And he told a story about how by the time they went through the desert and he saw life and he was stripped down to his watch and his boxers, and by the time he got to the boat, he said, I beg, I know day. And he came back, went to the north, reflected on his life, and now he's helping other people, young people. He set up an NGO. I wish I had it here so I could drop it. Right. Hopefully I'll tag it on somewhere. You know, to say, look, it's not worth it. It's not worth your life. He's been able to, you know, there's something you can do. And I know of the story of my parents during the Biafran War. You know, they could have said, oh, there's nothing for us. It was then they made soap, they made oil, they made whiskey, they found other ways to survive. They even took my dad at least took some orphan children into a home and they farmed rice, you know. So you find a way to survive. You can either have the scarcity mindset and say there's nothing for me and start becoming like a low life, or you can elevate yourself and say, well, this challenge is saying, what do I have in my hand? What can I find around me? So I would rather subscribe to saying, look, let's promote enlightenment amongst people to value your life. Yeah. Don't take those risks. It's not worth it. You know, that I'll rather sleep at the ferry terminal than try and cross a boat if it's the last one and it's completely full. My life is more important. I'll pitch it and I'll rather take my children and homeschool them and put them in a condemned building day after day on the possibility that we'll let them even have education. I don't know what the school was charging them, because I see that risk as one risk too many. You know, I've taken risks. I'm not trying to say I'm above that, but each time I'm taking it, I'm saying to myself, this is the last time you're going to do this thing. You know, I've kept in my, you know, texting and driving. I know, you know, it's not safe to do that because one minute you look up and you'll not be alert. So I really feel, yes, the government have a role to play in terms of putting the infrastructure on the ground to make life safer for people. But whilst we're pushing on that front, we need to also tell people your life is worth more than, and it's better to do without. You know, it's not going to kill you than to, you know, the alternative is to put yourself in harm's way, and you may lose your life trying to save that little thing you're saving.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I do feel that poverty does limit your options, your choices, and therefore makes you take more risks. For instance, let's just look at, now that we know that the cheaper the food, it's usually, you know, filled with pesticides and what have you. So the rich are really the ones that are able to go and get the organic, because the organic seems to be more expensive, harder to get hold of and everything. So the rich can afford to avoid all these things. The poor are like,
How many rich people eat organic?
No, but they can at least.
They still prefer to eat all the lousy food.
Will not. I mean, the poor person won't even consider.
Wealth gives you choices.
Yeah, exactly. The poor person won't even consider organic, because which kind of organic? They just need to eat. Also, the risk that a poor person, like a person in Nigeria at least, I know that they're just surviving day today. So they're not looking at life like you and I, where we're projecting in the future, we hope to be alive to see our children and what have you. So your value to your life is definitely different to how they value their life, because all they want to do is get through the day. If they eat, you know, like what I discovered the other day, that they are selling this oil, right, that is mixed with transformer oil. And it's cooking oil, transformer oil and something oil. You probably will never come across that, because you're never going to buy your oil in a jar or whatever from the market. But somebody else, a poor person, probably will. And these are the things that they are just open to those risks.
I guess that's why I'm talking about enlightenment, because I just really feel that it can't be an excuse to say,
so what I really want to come into, because I really don't always feel like the poor people really have that choice that we speak of, you know. So I think really the onus, or it should fall on the government to provide those regulations that prevent those things from happening.
Yeah.
So rather than say, oh, a poor person, you see the boat is overflowing, don't jump on it. No, let the person running that public transport or whatever it is stop them from getting on. That's how it's done everywhere else.
I'm looking for both. Of course, you tell that, but you have the ultimate say on whether you jump on that boat or not.
Well, no, because once there's a law against, we can't have more than 16 people on this boat. If there's any more than 16 people,
so what do you do about the man in the car who you say wear your seatbelt and he chooses not to wear your seatbelt? At some point, you need to take responsibility for your own safety.
Yeah.
They're not going to regulate everything for you.
You're still trying to equate things that you see.
But we're talking about public.
You got into a car. That shows that you're not even in public transport.
I understand.
So if you like, don't put on your seatbelt.
That's on you.
You can go and die, as they say.
Really, but that's a risk you're taking.
Good.
That's exposing you to death.
But you're an idiot to take a risk.
But you can also run into someone who is going on his own way.
Yes, exactly.
So there's something we call public harm. And I think it goes to the discussions around that, yes, the individual requires, again, the state, the government, to look after or to prevent public harm. Because there's unintended consequences. You're not wearing your seatbelt, or you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Yes, it's your problem.
Yes, but it affects
somebody else
more at risk. But you can, 1 second of distraction, you can go run into a school bus.
That's true.
Exactly.
And a whole lot of children are in trouble. You know, you see, understand them. I was just going to say that. Come on, even in London, in the old buses, that you could jump on the bus because they had open
and even
doors.
hang on.
Come on, we were jumping and come on, moving a bit, and we were not poor, quote and unquote. Anyway, but
it's a behavioral thing.
But still, maybe if we didn't have to enter the bus as well.
No, you can't keep
drive
making it like that. I think,
you know. But Uche, Ekene, you have to understand that when these people work like you, they want to get to work, whatever is their poor work. They want to get to it at 9 o'clock. They want to get home at 7.
But are you proposing that we keep making that excuse and letting more people make that choice to go down the road of death?
I'm telling the government, the
but
regulatory
in addition to the government, don't you feel you ought to also tell the individual?
No, I agree with you, but we must block it first from the official place, and then we can move on. You know, otherwise we're going to keep on. You know,
I mean, quickly, the overhead bridges that they put everywhere, but the people that use them don't actually want to use them. Yet it's safer for them to.
That's why you need to educate people as well. You need to educate people as well. Otherwise, you're.
No, I agree with you. Education for sure, but I will put the onus more on the government.
I'll put it on both.
Okay.
Channel compassion would seem to be the way forward. We certainly care about what you think. Bridget Miller-Taylor says, concerning Nigeria's generational warfare and Uche's support for our youth, if they knew better, why would we still be in the state that we're in? Yes, Uche, correct. One more time for the people in the back. On the matter of women proposing to men, Uzo says, I laughed my head off at you guys. Seriously though, I'm old-fashioned about this and believe in chivalry. A man should always do the proposing. It's just more romantic. He might also grow to take the woman for granted if she did the proposing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. On the matter of generational warfare, one man went to Mo says, Tonya Cole thought he was setting the young man up for a lynching, but he himself is the one actually being lynched. Absolutely. Please keep your comments coming in our social media platforms. On Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. On Twitter and Instagram, @Plus TV Africa, The Advocate NG. And remember, to catch up with previous broadcasts, go to plustvafrica.com/The Advocate. Okay, time for that quick break. And when we return, Emeka gives us a sober analysis of an emotive topic.